Also, could I have Blake's family? Like,
Oh
could I just have, like, Blake's brother and sister-in-law in particular? Like,
they were so nice and hilarious. I can't believe she got, like, hurt by a snowball. I was like...
hey y'all, we're the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Kristen.
And I'm Dr. Erin.
And welcome to our little holiday-themed corner of the internet, where we are chatting about trope-grouped holiday movies. And by that we mean every holiday movie, well, every movie, honestly, every book, follows tropes. That's what they do. Like, stories are building blocks of tropes. And this year we noticed that there was about like 5 or 6 that Hallmark and Lifetime kept using over and over again. So we decided to group them, a couple of them together, and talk about chunks of themes. So today we are going to be covering in total 4 holiday movies that deal with cross-cultural holiday traditions. 2 of them we're going to talk about today here on the old YouTube, and 2 of them are going to be coming up later on our Patreon. So if you want the total discussion, make sure to head to our Patreon and join at least the pub level. You're welcome to join us in the parlor or the porch as well, so you get access to these conversations. So we watched 2 for this one, as I said, one on Lifetime, Sweet Navidad, which may have come out last year. The internet can't decide if it was last year or this year, but by the by, we watched it.
Yep.
And Christmas at the Golden Dragon on Hallmark.
Mm-hmm.
We watched these directly after watching Reindeer Games Homecoming. Which we rate as one of the best Christmas movies of all time.
We gave it 10 out of 5 mistletoe.
So I watched Sweet Navidad immediately after that and liked it a lot less than Dr. Erin. And she watched Christmas at the Golden Dragon and liked it a lot less than me. So
this is the Reindeer Games effect.
The Reindeer Games effect. I will say that neither one of these movies is entirely successful.
No.
But they are both successful at various things and elements. So let's get into it.
Yes.
Sweet Navidad is about a Puerto Rican baker named Carmen, who is played by Camila Banús. And she is up for, essentially, she's a home cook. We got Great British Bake Off vibes here. She's run a bakery that's been in her family. She uses all of her family recipes, which is a very lived in, it feels very authentic Puerto Rican family. Like very Puerto Rican immigrant family, especially.
Yeah.
What that kind of looks like and is. She has been asked to cater a party, essentially, at the Lansby View Hotel, which is like a big deal, capital B, capital D. But the thing is, because she doesn't really do savory that much or have any experience in these kind of things, she gets paired with a professional chef, Jax, like the guy from Sons of Anarchy, played by Mark Hapka, who has the charisma of a piece of toast. God love him. On our bingo square, he checked off hot toast pretty quickly.
Male lead is hot toast, yeah.
The lead is hot toast, yeah. There's a lot of push and pull here. She's an amateur. He's a professional. The movie is like, he's a stick in the mud.
Like, he sticks by the rules. She does everything flies by the seat of her pants.
Eventually, they learn each other's methods. They put on a beautiful Christmas spread. They fall in love.
And scene. Well. Yeah.
Christmas at the Golden Dragon is, if you ever wondered what would happen if Hallmark tried to do Love Actually, Christmas at the Golden Dragon is your answer. And so the answer is they do it very messily.
Oh my God. It was a hot mess. Capital H, capital M, y'all. It's just, I had narrative whiplash.
I had a lot easier time with it, and some of it is I'm not an introvert, and I can handle more stimuli than Aaron can. So I didn't find it as whiplashy. I didn't find it enjoyable necessarily, but I didn't find it whiplashy. But it's very much like every single narrative ties into the other one somehow. And the premise is, this is the first Hallmark movie I've watched where the two main actors are siblings.
Yeah.
And not characters are siblings and not a romantic lead. Which is a theme this year, that there's other ways we're talking about Christmas rather than love stories, which is, I understand, more holistic, but much less enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I love the romance. I'm all about the romance. There can be multiple romances, like maybe 2. But like, I found myself thinking with Christmas at the Golden Dragon, I wasn't sure, like, 'cause I kept expecting there to be like a big romance, because I'm used to that, because it's Hallmark. And so I was like, trying to like puzzle it together. I was like, is Romy gonna fall in love with the dad, because she goes home? I'm like trying to figure out the tropes. And I was like, is her and Blake, like, maybe Blake's not going to be understanding. No, Blake was lovely. So there was, like, no tension with them that was, like, romantic tension. There was tension because Romy was a little bit nutty about Christmas. But then the brother and the girl he ditched at prom, Sadie, bless. I felt like, there just wasn't enough time. I mean, I love multiple storylines that all lead together. I actually love, actually. Grew up on Maeve Binchy, who is like the queen of multiple stories feeding together. I just felt like this was too many stories and they didn't have enough time for it to be cohesive.
Yeah, and I mean, none of the performers elevated the material, really, except for, I thought Veronica and Nate were very good lived-in performances. The CEO, the tech CEO, and the single dad. They felt like they felt much more lived in than everybody else. So the premise is that there's this, in the very famous mountain town of Wichita, Kansas, there is a Chinese restaurant that has become a real lodestone for this community. The only way that I could buy this, by the way, is that I just decided that this was like a neighborhood in Wichita, like Fishtown in Philadelphia, or like something small, because Wichita is huge.
Also very flat. Kansas is very flat.
Yeah, my mountainous was a sarcastic joke for our international viewers. Kansas is famous for being flat and growing corn and being the location of Wizard of Oz, in case you were wondering where else you've heard Kansas.
It's very flat until you get to Topeka, just outside of Kansas City. It gets a little bumpy. Certainly not mountainous. Certainly not Wichita.
Yeah. So this restaurant is the center of the community and also the center of the family. And in very, like, honestly, real, there are lots of people that spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day at Chinese restaurants. Mm-hmm. Lots of folks. It is a very American phenomenon. If you don't know that around the world, let me tell you. Which is one of the reasons I picked this movie to talk about, because I wanted to talk about the fact that one of the side effects of having Christmas be this, like, having a religious holiday be a national holiday, which is what we do for Christmas, means that if that's not your religion, you find other ways to mark the day off.
Yeah. So it's a very famous tradition in a lot of Jewish families to go to Chinese restaurants on Christmas, because it ain't their holiday.
It's not their holiday, and it's Chinese restaurants are all that are open.
And they're all that's open,
Chinese immigrants didn't care about Christmas when they first got there, or probably even a little bit at all. So that's so I wanted us to be able to talk about that and discuss what that meant for Christmas. I loved the premise of this thing, that, like, this is the restaurant and all these stories intersect. What I didn't love is the execution of it in a lot of ways. But the parents have decided to sell the restaurant and retire to Flagstaff, and they decide that it's appropriate to tell everybody 2 days before Christmas. This has some real, like, I woke up on Christmas morning, walked out of my house, and I got surprised with a Lexus kind of energy. Like, these are real big decisions that you discuss with other people.
Especially your children.
Especially your children, one of whom was clearly expecting to inherit this thing.
One of whom worked at the restaurant.
you want to tell me that this is a major staple of the community, but you as owners of it aren't going to take care of the community that you've built?
And you're going to close... Like for me, it was so interesting because they understood, like, the parents understood how much... I think on some level they understood how much the restaurant meant to the community. And they had built this whole, like, relationship, and the Christmas tree with all the different ornaments was lovely. And then they were like...
on Christmas Day.
We're not gonna be open for Christmas Day so that we can give our kids, like, the day off. And I was like, ooh, there's a disconnect here that you're missing, that, like, people need your restaurant on Christmas Day.
Yeah, you can close the 26th and then close forever on the 1st, but, like, give them the 25th. But it allowed us to have the grand thing where the kids throw the Christmas Day, and it's... Everything ends happily ever after, if not too speedily for my taste. I will say that the last 20 minutes were incredible, and the way that Blake proposed to Romy was
so cute.
Perfect. It might actually be my favorite Hallmark proposal. I thought it really represented her character arc. It represented...
Yeah, and I loved how he was like, Christmas isn't perfect. Like, nobody's perfect. Like, whatever. We're going to make this work because I love you. Yeah, it was adorable. It was a very swoony moment. And yeah,
and also as somebody who did not introduce her boyfriend to her parents until they were engaged, felt a little bit too real. So
it was a little on the nose. And I loved that, like, Rick did prom decorations for Sadie. We love a grand gesture. I'm just sad we didn't get a kiss between Nate and Veronica. I understand they're, like, a more mature relationship, but I like the smooches. We got several smooches, but not their smooch. We got their, like, hand-holding, eating Chinese food, and I was like, no, inappropriate, Hallmark.
But, like, at the same time, if, like, that was a rough one for me, because they were clearly, obviously, like, hadn't started anything, and for them to kiss 3 days, and, like, after starting something, and the kids are there, like, either already have them be flirting, like, we already knew it was coming, and then have them, like, have the girls be active in planning a first date.
Or they could have kissed in the epilogue where they were holding hands.
Like, there's a lot of different ways.
I just wanted a smooch. I just wanted a smooch.
Completely fair. We are pro-smooch here.
We are pro-smooch.
I also really appreciate... Like, this is one of those, if I take them all out, I thought all of the stories, the characters were developed okay. But it was too many morals. So, like, I really liked...
because then we had, like, Miguel's storyline with, like, two storylines.
What does being involved in the community mean?
And his relationship with his father, who was also a Latinx immigrant. We didn't... what did he said from Guadalajara, so Mexico.
Guadalajara, so from Mexico, yeah.
Is a Mexican immigrant. And it was just like, yeah, lots.
It does give us a ton of things to talk about. So yeah. I will say I made a couple notes. One is that the interview that Miguel does with Veronica at the beginning, where he is denied a scholarship because he works 30 hours a week and doesn't have time for extracurriculars, is a really quick reminder to all of us that especially first-generation college students do not spend high school cultivating extracurriculars.
They can't.
They can't. For a host of financial and maybe even familial obligation reasons. Mm-hmm. And measuring a child's college preparedness based on their SAT scores and their extracurriculars has led to the overinflated higher ed bubble we have right now, where everybody has a bachelor's and nobody knows what to do with it.
And, like, it totally discounts that, like, Miguel is probably one of the most mature, like, 17, 18-year-olds because he has had all of this responsibility. And look at, like, yeah, so it was an important reminder to, like, look beyond the metrics. And, yeah, like, the more you say it, like, I liked each individual story. I just felt that there were too many of them, and so they were too quick. But, like, I like that arc that Veronica gets to see all that he's done for people, and by the end, she's like, look, I was wrong, come back for a second interview.
I liked that. Veronica's arc as well.
Yeah.
Of understanding that just because your dad wasn't perfect doesn't mean you didn't love him. Mm-hmm. That Veronica had this obsession with her mom's career. And, like, that her mom gave up everything. And I just felt very, like, Mona Lisa Smile vibes, where... Kirsten Dunst stands on the porch with Julia Roberts and says, I get to choose my own happiness.
Yeah.
Like, I get the power of the feminist movement is my choice to stay home.
Yeah.
So I liked that she got there.
Mm-hmm.
And that actress was on Vampire Diaries. That's where I knew her from for ages.
Oh,
and
yes. I forgot to look up what she was in.
And she had the chops to carry that nuance.
Yeah, she's a good actor.
And so she did it really, really well. I liked that.
Uh-huh.
Also, could I have Blake's family? Like,
Oh
could I just have, like, Blake's brother and sister-in-law in particular? Like,
They were so nice and hilarious. I can't believe she got, like, hurt by a snowball. I was like,
that was
what?
nuts. But then I loved that moment of, she's like, I have to go home. And the sister-in-law's like, I'll book your flight. I was like,
Yeah.
That's family. Thank you so much.
And, like, they were very understanding of her, I thought, borderline rude.
Oh, no, not borderline. Entirely rude assumptions
Like,
of what Christmas had to be because she saw it on Hallmark once.
Because she saw it on a Hallmark movie, and, like, complete dismissal of their holiday traditions and, like, forcing them into things that they did not want to do or didn't do for traditions. Which I was just like, girl, check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm glad they were kind about it, because it could have gone, I mean, it's Hallmark, so they were always going to be kind, but that could have gone real bad if they were just like, why are you hating on our Christmas traditions? We don't make gingerbread houses. We watch football. We're watching football.
I did love that the decorating scheme for that whole thing was completely different colors. Mm-hmm. Like a real reminder that, like, a visual reminder that Christmas decorations and Christmas looks different for everybody.
Yeah, it was, this one was not sponsored by Balsam Hill.
No.
So that was nice. I did not feel visually assaulted by the decorations. It was sponsored by, clearly, Chex. Walmart, and then Chex, which was, they just made the recipe on the back of the box. Which was cute. Like, it was a cute story. Like, I can't make your mom's Christmas buns. But he was just like, I have an idea.
Let's make Muddy Buddies.
Muddy Buddies, that's what they're called. Let's zoom in on the Chex box that I bought at Walmart. Bless. That's okay. And Volvo. I think Volvo also... Volvo sponsored Sweet Navidad, because they had the 30-second car driving into the driveway scene where the entire car was visible, and I was like, get out of the car.
Speaking of Feliz Navidad, Sweet Navidad.
It should have just been called Feliz Navidad. I don't know why it wasn't, because I just kept calling it that. But
so this is where the fact that I am also marathoning Hell's Kitchen really comes into play, because I had no sympathy for her at all. Her, like, loosey-goosey, I don't make lists, I don't do any of this. I just kept saying, like, but that's not how a kitchen works. And that's, like, you can't cook from the heart when they need to buy ingredients. And, like, I just never liked her. I never wanted him to think she was a good idea. Because I was so frustrated with, like, oh my God, you were, like, if this wasn't a movie, you would screw up all these people's Christmas.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, I liked this one better, but it was after I watched Christmas at the Golden Dragon. So again, I'm gonna say some of our strong feelings about these was the reindeer games effect. But yeah, like, my first note for this is way too much pep in her step, because the first scene where she was walking down the street to the cafe, my mom was like, no human walks like that. I had a lot of problems with, like, yeah, like, the, I guess I cared a little bit less about the conceit, because I figured, like, as soon as Abuelita said, maybe they'll both learn from each other, I was like, okay, that's where this is going. They have to meld their styles together. That's the whole point of this, whatever. He'll teach her to write stuff down, and she'll teach him to be a bit more passion, have a bit more passion in his cooking, whatever. Her family was
that
my favorite.
even felt, yeah. I think, as lived in as the immigrant family felt, I was like, oh, good, another stereotype where the Latin is the super passionate one and the WASP doesn't have a personality.
Yeah, that was, and he was like, literally, when he was like, well, my mom and dad are back in Provo, I was like, oh my God.
Like, the more interesting version of this story is that he's the one who's super loosey-goosey, and she's reacted to her entire family's loosey-goosiness by being really uptight.
By being, like, super rigid, yeah.
Super rigid and, like, very passionate in her personal life and her romantic relationships, but, like, and you can taste the passion in her cooking, but that passion is really regimented.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of some of the Latin cooks that I watch on TV, and, like, that's how I would even describe, like, their food tastes passionate, but their cooking is very regimented because cooking is chemistry. So I think, like, that was my other thing. I was like, oh, good, another movie where the spicy Latina is going to, like, make the Mormon, you know, all sexy. It just...
Yeah, and she, like, taught him how to dance, and, like, yeah.
There's a difference between tropes and low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was... I agree with you. This was low-hanging fruit, that part of the trope. Her family, I loved her family and, like, her interaction with her family, and I thought that, you know, on the theme of cross-cultural Christmas, I thought they did a great job of telling the story of what Christmas looks like in a Puerto Rican immigrant family and kind of the traditions that they do and how they adapt them and kind of the syncretism, like traditional syncretism of, like, you know, some Latin traditions or Puerto Rican traditions and some American Christmas traditions. So I thought that they did that really well. Carmen was annoying and Blake was hot toast.
Jax was hot toast. Blake was not hot toast. He was
Blake.
the other one.
Blake was in the other one. Too many white boy names. Yeah, I finally got really frustrated at, like, how much they were just hanging out when they had to cook. Like, they get a tree for the kitchen and decorate it. My literal notes were like, they have to cook for a whole party and they are decorating. I was like...
Yeah, I think this is just one of those where the conceit took me out of it. Mm-hmm. I think, like, because there are, like...
And then the weird thing where the lady, like, decided she was moving back to Puerto Rico, Sue, and, like, selling Cokie, like, right in the middle. And I was like,
why are we doing this right now?
Why are we doing this right now? That was so weird. And, like, obviously she was going to buy it. Like, it just... That could have been, like, a sentence at the end. Like, that could have been the epilogue, with Sue being like, I'm going back to Puerto Rico. And I'll use my winnings to buy your restaurant. Yeah.
Done. Yeah, there was, like... I think I just could think of, as I was watching this, my husband was watching it with me, and we were just, like, suggesting 7 other ways to tell the story. And, like, every time, like, almost everything they did, I came up with something I liked better.
Yeah.
For them to do, and that's just... I didn't do that for Reindeer Games. I didn't do that even for Lights, Camera, Christmas, as much as I didn't like the last 20 minutes of the movie. It just didn't... I'm always glad to hear not English spoken. So yeah. I appreciated that about Christmas the Golden Dragon, too, that she called that family, those 2 servers out in either Mandarin or Cantonese. I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know the difference, but yes.
So I appreciated that. I appreciated reminders that Christmas is not a WASP holiday in both movies. I really liked the overall message of Christmas of the Golden Dragon, better than Sweet Navidad. The opening and closing voice memos of Christmas of the Golden Dragon being like that Christmas, this holiday is about memories and tradition and whatever that is for you is okay.
Yeah.
Versus we all need a little, you know, Christmas magic. I just resonated with the message of, I mean, obviously I'm obsessed with people being together and eating food together. Christmas of the Golden Dragon's premise was created for me. But there was just it was a little bit, Sweet Navidad was a little bit too much like like mediocre everything we've seen before to be fully enjoyable.
Yeah. But I think they both did interesting things with the cross-cultural Christmas.
Yes. That's the point I was trying to make. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got me.
No, that's fine. I think you did make it, and I was just reiterating it. they both did things that I liked about the cross-cultural Christmas, but both of them had enough weaknesses in them that, like, I'm not going to watch them again. I immediately deleted them off the DVR. I have saved Reindeer Games Homecoming on the Diver. So all that remains now is to rank them out of mistletoe and play bingo. And if you don't know what we're talking about with bingo, the link below in the downstairs to our bingo card, play along, download it on your phone or tablet or whatever, play it with all the movies. We certainly do. So I did the bingo for them. We had bingo twice, 2 different times with Christmas at the Golden Dragon. No bingo with Sweet Navidad. So the bingo with Christmas at the Golden Dragon, we had the middle line on our bingo card. So CGI snow falling, which is not hard. Spirit of Christmas plot point, free square. Diverse lead, casting, or storyline, and second chance romance, i.e. Rick and Sadie. Yep. And then we also had the cross-cultural Christmas square, obviously. Holiday tradition plot point, there were many. Free square. Parent or spouse died near Christmas or loved it. I'm counting that because, like, the spouse dying, parent dying was a big part of that. And then meddling family members, which we had so many meddling family members. So 2 times the bingo for Christmas at the Golden Dragon. 0 bingo, no bingo for Sweet Navidad. Kristen, what were your mistletoe rankings for these 2 films?
I'm doing 2.5 for Golden Dragon.
Okay.
And 2 for Sweet Navidad. Yourself.
Yeah, I am adjusting mine as I look at them. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go 2 for both. 2 for both. Maybe 2.5 for Christmas at the Golden Dragon. But I was really overwhelmed by all the different stories, so I'm gonna stay with 2. 2 out of 5 mistletoe. So I think we're averaging around 2 for both of those movies, which I feel is accurate.
Yeah.
And now it is, I'm remiss to not have in front of me, but bear with me while I talk and pull up our schedule so I can say what trope is next. As Kristen said, if you would like to join us for more cross-cultural Christmas discussions over on our Patreon, dropping tomorrow, you will get our discussion of A Big Fat Family Christmas and Merry Textmas. Again, a Hallmark Lifetime competition. We'll see who wins. I don't know that either channel won with this competition. It's a draw. So join us on our Patreon for that. Any tiered member, you get access to the videos. So we hope to see you over there. And then next up for us, in terms of tropes, is second chance romance, y'all. We love a second chance. It's an automatic bingo square. We will be talking about 2 Lifetime properties. Dog Days of Christmas, which features an animal shelter in jeopardy, and Country Christmas Harmony, which has a plus-size heroine and stars one of the main couples from Sweet Magnolias. And they're a second chance couple in Sweet Magnolias. They're a second chance couple in this. They're adorable together. They have great chemistry. That dude is hella hot. So I have high hopes for Country Christmas Harmony. So that will be next. Second chance is one of our favorite tropes. So we will see you guys next week for that if we don't see you on the Patreon. That is all I have.
May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be whatever you want them to be. See you guys next week.